Are you ready to get sewing in Clo3D? Well, today we're going to go over that sewing tool. Hi, I'm Christina, and I love to digitally apparel pattern, creating unique pieces of wearable art. And I love how Clo has it that you can actually seam your patterns together and fit them on an avatar and see how they can look in real life to kind of get some of those style lines and some of those proportions that you will love. So let's get started. I'm going to bring up Clo3D, and I have my size 8 sloper already in here, as well as my size 8, or as well as the avatar of size 8 from Clo. And I kind of have it already positioned around the body. You can use these blue dots around to actually place the pattern around the body. I'm going to turn those off for a minute so that we can dive into the sewing tool. So let's actually talk about the sewing tool here. There are 3 different sewing tools up here. There's this first one, which is the edit sewing tool. So once you actually have sewing on your pattern, you can come up here to edit each one. Then there is this one, which is segment sewing. So if you're looking to do segment by segment, you can do those. And then we also have the free sewing tool, which is really common when your segments are not exactly the same length. If you're trying to ease in a gathered skirt or an ease in a sleeve cap, I use the free sewing a lot for that type of stuff. Now there is pleating sewing and all that type of stuff, but we will go into that at another time. So we're just gonna start, and we're gonna start with the segment sewing because when you sew darts, your dart legs, you want them to be the exact same size. So we know those segments are going to line up. So we're just going to click on one side and then hover over the other side, and you can see that I now have a notch here. If you were to hover over too far away, you can see that the notch is actually going on the opposite direction. You want to make sure that your notches will line up, because if you don't, Clo will actually try to gather in that one long piece of the leg into the really short leg and stretch out the other thing. We don't want it to do that. So when you're doing that, you want to make sure that it lines up. I'm going to click, and you can actually see on my 3D how the lines actually work, and they're going straight across. We're just going to delete that. If I was to do it the other way, you can actually see, let me zoom in just a little bit, that the seam lines are doing something wonky, and it's not going to turn out to be very well when you actually try to simulate and sew it together for you. So you want to make sure that those notches are lining up the way you want them to line up. That time I got them at the top, but you can see straight lines across. So I'm going to go ahead and also do my center fronts, and then I'm going to back up and I'm going to do my center backs like that. And right now I have on my patterns to do symmetrical sewing. So that means that whatever I do to one pattern, I just did that to this one, it does it to the other one automatically. Now, I do have this long line here that I can do the sewing to one side, sewing to the other side, but we're just going to undo that for a second because I'm just going to show you how this could potentially help. When you're free sewing, if you have a dart and you don't have the perfect notch marked out, you can actually start at one dot and go all the way up, and then when you click onto the next dot, it will actually give you a guideline. Because I have a dot there, you probably couldn't see that very well. Let's see if I can delete that line. There we go. That's going to delete that, and we want to do the free sewing. So we're going to do one side, we're going to click and start going the other, and you can see it now created a dot there for me. So that will help you with that free sewing. If you're looking to gather stuff in, that's when you can also grab more of fabric than you want. Like if I truly wanted to, I could grab this and grab all of that, and it says, cool, that's what you want to do. I'm going to gather all that into that seam. So that's the really handy thing with the free sewing tool. But I definitely don't want to do that. So we're just going to do the free sewing up like so. Then we're going to do the back. And again, you have to think, if I started here, let's move up to I'm on this side. If I was going to start, so I started at the neck. If I started at the shoulder and tried to sew, you can actually see how it twists. So that's one thing you want to always make sure you're starting neckline to shoulder point, neckline to shoulder point. And that makes it all sew. Oh, I missed my bust dart. Let's get those done. I love how it actually shows what's all sewn and what's not. That way, if you miss something, like I had missed my bust dart, you can see it before you actually simulate it. But it's also one of those things, Control Z or Edit Undo is a great key command or tool to have, because you sometimes do stuff like, I did not want that to happen. Undo it, and it's so much faster than a eraser. So let's go ahead and simulate this right onto her. There we go. It simulated a little high. Let's just move that down. There we go. And we have our sloper with 2 bust darts on there. I'm going to stop simulating because my computer is going a little, it's spinning on up. But it's nice to be able to see all these different darts, because you can actually sew within the 3D portion of Clo as well. So if I hadn't sewn these, I could actually go in and sew it. I always find it easier in my head to work it out on the 2D arrangement, but I do know that you can actually sew on the 3D avatar as well. I hope that answers some of your questions and gets you started sewing in Clo3D, and I look forward to seeing what you all create. If you enjoyed this video, please make sure to like and subscribe so that you can see other fun ways to digitally apparel pattern in Clo and Illustrator, and how the two can work with each other. And I look forward to seeing you in some of my other videos. Happy patterning!